Some places grow quiet, not because there's no one speaking, but because the words no longer know where to land. That's what Riverside felt like, a retirement home tucked into the misty bend of Rosewood's oldest hill. It was all too easy to forget, forgotten by its town, forgotten by time, forgotten even by some of its residents, whose memories had begun to slide like softened paint down a cracked canvas. But not mine. Every morning I'd sit by the east-facing window, the one with the smudged glass that caught the rain just right, making it shimmer like it was crying. The same rain day after day, as if the sky itself missed someone. I'd hum, not to anyone in particular, just softly, just enough for the silence to remember it wasn't alone. The tune, always the same, a lullaby of sorts, or maybe a keepsake. Eleanor's song, 12 years and 47 days. That's how long it had been since I held her hand as it went still in mine. And still I sang. Not aloud, not often, just enough to feel the echo of her voice brushing against mine, like a ghost who knew how to wait patiently. People here thought I was fading, that I was just another wilted fixture in a corridor of creaking knees and pill schedules. They said I hummed because I was lost. No, I hummed because I remembered. It was a Wednesday. I remember the way the light fell like cold butter across the linoleum when I first saw the flyer. Someone had pinned it just above the coffee machine with a blue pushpin that matched the ink. Rosewood Annual Talent Show. All ages welcome. Sign up by Friday. All ages, they said. I suppose they meant that kindly. But in places like these, kindness can feel a lot like pretending. I stared at the paper for a long while. It fluttered whenever someone passed by, each breeze lifting the corner like an invitation. She used to love talent shows, I whispered, more to the window than to the room. She'd sing along from the couch, holding her teacup like it was a microphone. I didn't move right away, just watched, waited. Later that evening, after they'd brought our usual gelatin and half-soup dinner, after the nurses turned the lights low and the television mumbled some rerun comedy, I stood. It took time to reach the board. Each step felt like flipping a page of a book no one had read in years. The pen was tied with string, blue, ink faint. But it worked. Walter Hemsley. My name looked lonely on the sheet, stark, fragile, like it wasn't sure it belonged. The laughter started 2 days later. I heard them whisper. Not cruel, not directly, just enough to let the silence finish the joke. What's he gonna do? Sing the Gettysburg Address? They didn't mean harm. At least I don't think they did. Laughter in places like this is a kind of armor. It keeps people from seeing how close the shadows really are, but still, it stung. That night, I returned to the window. Rain again. Always rain. I hummed, and with each note, I pictured her. Yellow sweater, reading glasses she never needed but liked to wear. That half smile she gave me the first time I sang to her, nervous and too fast. I'm going to sing for you again, I said. The window said nothing back. But somewhere in the dark, I swear the rain paused to listen. Some voices are loud before they even speak, the kind that enter a room with sneakers squeaking, headphones blaring, laughter made for attention. Mine was never that kind. I belonged to the quieter things, crickets at dusk, a page turning in an old book, the sigh of a chair settling under familiar weight. So when the laughter started, sharp and shrill like glass against marble, I knew I was never meant to be part of their performance. I was meant to be the punchline. The day after, I signed up. 2 of the aides were whispering by the front desk. I don't think they knew I was listening. Walter? The old guy who talks to his tea. Yeah, he's singing. I saw it on the list. God. What if he forgets halfway through? They laughed like it wasn't really about me, like I was already half gone, a fading shadow performing for their convenience. But I remembered everything, every word, every note. Every tear Eleanor ever wiped away from my cheek while pretending not to see. The real storm didn't begin until Thursday. That was the day the high school kids got involved. I didn't even know they were filming. One of them had come in with a local church choir, intergenerational outreach, they called it, and caught me practicing in the garden. My voice was a whisper in the wind, uneven, breaking in places. I thought I was alone. That night, the video surfaced, a shaky clip, 37 seconds long, titled, "Grandpa Thinks He's Sinatra, Talent Show Cringe." They added music over it, something cartoonish, gave me wobbly legs with editing, zoomed in when I forgot a word. It went viral, not worldwide, just enough to burn. The comment section lit up like fireworks, but with none of the joy. "Bro, this is elder abuse. Someone stop him before he collapses. This is so sad. Alexa, play Despacito." One of the kids, I think his name was Tyler, walked by me the next morning with a smirk. He didn't say anything. He just did this little shuffle with his feet, mocking the way I walked. Everyone around him laughed. Their voices were bright and cruel, cutting through the hallway like high-pitched blades. I said nothing. I went back to the garden, where the roses had started to bloom again, late, like me. I sat, held the lyric sheet between my fingers, and sang under my breath, "You'll always be my moonlight even when the stars forget to shine." The words didn't come easily anymore. My throat was rusted, stiff, but I didn't sing for perfection. I sang for presence, for the echo of Eleanor's head against my shoulder, for the way she used to hum along when she thought I wasn't listening. Sometimes when the wind moved right, I imagined she was humming again. Meanwhile, the buzz grew louder. Not applause, just noise. Mockery dressed in neon and hashtags. Grandpa singer. Boomer ballads. Fossil finale. Even the local radio show joined in. A morning DJ with too much gel and too little soul chuckled into the mic. "Well, folks, better. Bring your earplugs Saturday night. I hear Walter Hemsley's got a set that'll wake the dead." Literally. They laughed. And somewhere in me, something steady and still didn't. I began rehearsing every day after breakfast, before dinner, sometimes just before sleep. The others would pass me with puzzled looks, sympathetic smiles. But a few, just a few, started to linger. Mrs. Kapoor from room 12 stopped one afternoon and said, "That was beautiful, Walter." Her eyes were glassy. "My husband used to sing to me too." That was enough. Just her. One person who understood. The nurses started checking my vitals more frequently. "You don't want to overdo it," they warned gently. "That kind of strain, Mr. Hemsley." But they didn't know the truth. Singing didn't strain me. It saved me. Each word was a step back into a moment I refused to let die. Eleanor's face, Eleanor's voice, Eleanor's smile. It wasn't just a song. It was my lighthouse in the fog. So I kept going. They could laugh, they could edit, they could mock. But on that stage, for those 3 minutes, I would be whole again. And she would hear me. The night of the show came wrapped in the kind of wind that makes the trees lean close and listen. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the shirt I had laid out the night before. It was Eleanor's favorite, navy blue, pressed collar. I hadn't worn it since her funeral. It still smelled faintly of lavender. I dressed slowly, not out of frailty, but reverence. Every button felt like a small ceremony. When I was done, I looked in the mirror. Old, that's the word people see first when they look at me. But I looked harder, past the liver spots, past the folds of skin and stories written across my face. Past the tremor in my hand, I saw him, the boy who danced with a girl in the middle of a blackout during wartime, her laughter the only music. The man who sang to his wife on every anniversary, no matter how off-key. The soldier who once stood, tall, with a chest full of pride and a pocket full of poems. I whispered to the mirror, "We've got one more song in us, don't we?" And he nodded back. The auditorium wasn't the grand kind. It smelled like popcorn and old wood. Folding chairs squeaked under restless legs. The audience buzzed, not with anticipation, but expectation. They weren't here to be moved. They were here to be entertained, distracted, given something to laugh at and forget 5 minutes later. Backstage, the chaos was a world I no longer belonged to. Glitter clung to the air. Young performers with neon wigs and streaming cameras buzzed from corner to corner. Music blared. Someone was juggling fire. A toddler in a tutu screamed as her mother reapplied mascara between sobs. I sat quietly, cane across my knees, hands folded, breathing like I was preparing to walk into church. The host, a man who wore a sequined blazer like it owed him money, read names with the tempo of a game show announcer. Applause, laughter, loud music, then silence. Next up, Walter Hemsley. It didn't roar. It murmured a ripple of confusion. Whispers, chuckles, phones raised like weapons. I heard one boy say, "This is gonna be golden." I walked out slowly, each step deliberate. I could feel the eyes, the doubt. The stage lights bound me like a searchlight on open water. I stood center stage, alone. No backup track, no special effects. Just me and a microphone older than some of the audience members. I took the mic like I was holding her hand. "My name is Walter Hemsley," I began. "I only know one song. I sang it the night Eleanor said yes. I sang it the night she left. And tonight, I sing it again." A girl giggled near the front. I smiled gently, as if forgiving her in advance, and then I sang. At first, the notes stumbled out. My voice cracked, too thin, but I held on, like gripping the edge of a photo album. "In a house on fire." By the second line, something shifted. Not in me, in the room. The murmurs faded, the phones lowered. I sang, "You'll always be my moonlight, even when the stars forget to shine." Each word was a thread, weaving her back into the world. I could see her, sitting there in the front row, in that yellow sweater, eyes wide and soft with knowing. Midway through, my voice found something it hadn't had in years: strength. Not the kind that lifts weight, but the kind that lifts memory. My chest expanded, and I let it all pour out. The hall transformed. No more laughter, no more lights, just quiet. Breathless, sacred quiet. A girl in the second row, maybe 12, held her mother's hand tighter. The influencer judge, with lashes thick and long as feathers, wiped her cheek. Even the boy who'd mocked me before now sat stone still, lips parted, as if the sound had reached some forgotten room inside him. I reached. The final line, the one I never got through in rehearsals. "I'll wait at the edge of the stars, my love." My voice broke, not from age, not from weakness, from truth, from the sheer weight of loving someone for so long that even death had grown weary of waiting. I finished in silence. For a beat, nothing moved. Then applause, not polite, not obligatory, real. It rose like a wave, like something being released. People stood, clapped until their palms turned red. Some cried openly, others simply nodded, unable to speak. I bowed slowly, not in triumph, in thanks. She heard me, somewhere. Beyond the veil of stars and song, she heard me. And for the first time in 12 years, I wasn't singing alone. For a long time after I walked off that stage, I didn't hear much of anything. Not because the applause had stopped, it hadn't, but because something inside me had grown quiet. Still, as if a clock that had ticked too loudly for too long had finally found peace. Backstage, no one laughed. They watched me with that strange mix of awe and discomfort people wear when something real has just walked through the door. I passed the fire juggler, who gave me a silent thumbs up. The sequined host didn't say anything. He just smiled, not with his mouth, but with his eyes, the kind of smile a man wears when something unexpected rearranges his idea of the world. I returned to my seat beside the curtain and sat down slowly. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from release. Someone approached me. It was one of the judges, the beauty vlogger, I think. Her makeup had run slightly, just under the eyes. In her hand, she clutched a tissue, like it was the last scrap of something sacred. She knelt down beside me. "That was the most honest thing I've ever seen," she said. I didn't know what to say back, so I nodded. I'm not good with compliments. I've lived too long to trust easy praise, but this one didn't feel easy. It felt earned. I thought that would be it. But the world doesn't always move the way you expect. Sometimes when you speak softly enough, the world leans in. The next morning, I woke to find my name everywhere. One of the stagehands had recorded my performance. Just her phone on a tripod in the corner. She'd uploaded it that night. No filters, no captions, just me standing under a single light, holding onto a microphone like it was someone's hand. By morning, it had 200,000 views. By evening, 1 million. Comments poured in faster than the home's dial-up could load them. My granddad sang this to my nana in hospice. I'm sobbing. This broke something open in me I didn't know was locked. He didn't just sing, he remembered out loud. The hashtag changed too. No more Shaka Cringe King or Shuck Boomer ballads. Now it was Walter and Eleanor people made tribute. Videos. Young couples danced to my song in kitchens and parks and parking lots. A cellist in Poland played a cover. Someone remixed it into lo-fi. One teenager used it as the background for a video titled "Real Love Still Exists." I didn't understand half of it, but I didn't need to, because in every corner of the digital world, people were remembering someone, and it started with me remembering her. Back at Riverside, things shifted. Not drastically, but enough. The same nurse who once rushed me through my medication now paused and asked how I was sleeping. A younger resident, just 62, recently moved in, asked if I'd help her learn the melody. "I lost my husband 3 years ago," she said, almost embarrassed, "but your song made me remember how he looked at me." They gave me a printed sheet of online comments, taped it to the wall above my reading chair. Dozens of voices, strangers, from miles away, writing messages not just to me, but through me, to their own ghosts, their own Eleanors. One girl's comment stayed with me. "I was going to break up with my boyfriend tonight. Then I heard Walter sing. Now we're slow dancing in the kitchen. Thank you." Funny how a song can do that. Funny how memory, when sung gently enough, becomes a bridge. People kept asking me for interviews, talk shows, daytime specials, even a short film offer. I said no to all, not out of pride, but because the stage wasn't for them, it was for her. That night, I sat by the window again. Rain, of course, always rain. I held the printout of those comments in my lap, let the words warm my fingers. I imagined Eleanor sitting beside me, legs tucked under her, tea in hand. She used to hum when she read, not loud, just a single note, over and over, like she was reminding the silence to stay kind. I closed my eyes, hummed along. We were together again, just long enough for the world to fade. They say healing is a process of forgetting, but I've found it's the opposite. Healing is remembering gently. It came in pieces, not parades. No trophies arrived, no cameras flashed. Just a letter from the town council a week later. "We're installing a bench in the Riverside Garden in honor of your performance. In honor of Eleanor, thank you for reminding us what matters." The plaque was simple, nothing grand, just 10 words carved in brass. For Eleanor, whose song was never forgotten, they placed it right where she would have wanted, under the arch where the roses bloomed the brightest, near the corner where the robins nested every spring. I visited the bench that morning before the others were awake. The air was still heavy with dew. Even the wind seemed to wait. I sat down, slowly letting the silence settle beside me like an old friend, and I spoke. "Morning, my love," I said. No grand speeches, no dramatics, just us. And something in the air shifted. Not loud, just enough to feel like listening. In the weeks that followed, I noticed something beautiful. Others began to sit there too, not just to rest, but to remember. A woman named Clara, who lost her son in an accident, began leaving wildflowers on the bench every Friday. Mr. Reynolds, who hadn't spoken more than 5 words since his stroke, started humming, just barely audible, whenever he sat there. Even the staff changed. They moved more slowly now, more gently, like the whole home had begun to breathe at a different rhythm. The song became something of a thread in the air. Teens from the high school came by to ask about it. Some brought guitars. One played the tune and cried halfway through. "I didn't know music could do that," he said. I told him, "Music is memory with a melody. And memory is everything." One rainy afternoon, Tyler, the same boy who once mocked me with his fake shuffle, sat beside me on the bench. He didn't say anything at first, just stared at the roses. "I watched your video," he finally whispered. I nodded. "My granddad passed last year. I never went to see him much, but when you sang..." His voice cracked. "I don't know. I felt like I missed something big." I put a hand on his shoulder. "It's not too late to start remembering." That day, he didn't take out his phone. He just listened. The world didn't change overnight, but it turned. The night I sang, I thought it would be the end of something. A curtain call, but instead it was a door, a bridge, a breath of warmth in a world that too often rushes past what matters. And for me, life didn't get longer, just deeper. I still hum every morning, still sit at the window, still see her in the corners of rain and the hush between footsteps. But now, I am not alone in my remembering. And that's the greatest gift of all. They called it a performance, but it wasn't. It was a love letter whispered in a room that finally decided to listen. Epilogue. The garden is quiet this morning. A thin sun presses through the fog, brushing the tops of the roses with gold. I sit on the bench with my coat buttoned tight. My cane rests beside me like an old friend. My hands fold gently, one over the other, as if still holding hers. And I, not loudly, just enough for the wind to carry. She hears me still always. If this story touched your heart, even just for a moment, please consider sharing it with someone who needs a little light today. And if you'd like more stories whispered with love, memory, and meaning, subscribe to the channel. Sometimes, all it takes is one quiet voice to remind us what really matters.